Of course, we're going to discuss what's going on at the Supreme Court, but I thought this was actually the most interesting one. And I'm going to argue with myself a little bit here because trying to rationalize through all of the potential possibilities that have happened with this never-ending injunctions decision by the Supreme Court. Now, earlier in the day, this was reported as the birthright citizenship thing. Is that constitutional? Was it meant for children of slaves, or was it meant for Juan and Margarita who crossed the border and had their kid here and bounced? Is that no? Okay, so that's a discussion that will be had at some point. Pam Bondi said probably around October is when the Supreme Court will take that up. What I thought was really interesting, though, was the real decision behind this, in that the Supreme Court said, okay, well, it can't just be one random judge issuing injunctions that wipe out everything the president is doing across the country. That is actually big news. Here's where I argue with myself. That is great. President Trump is doing what the American people voted him into office to do. And, well, that's kind of concerning because whether you like it or not, there will be a lib president again someday, and I'm concerned that that lib president will wield all of those powers that the executive branch has, with being able to do things without just sweeping injunctions by a federal judge, and that concerns me. Where I argue with myself a third time is that, okay, well, maybe if that's the case, freaking Congress will get their act together and do their job so that the president doesn't have to do all these executive orders, whether it's Trump, whether it's a Democrat, whoever it is. Because at the end of the day, the only reason the president has these sweeping executive orders from Obama to Trump to Biden back to Trump is because Congress doesn't do their job. They're the least liked branch of government by far. And maybe if they want to stop the executive branch from taking all their power, maybe they should take some of it back by, again, doing their freaking job. Here to comment on that and so much more is Mike Crispy, who's a host on RAV, and also Kendall Bailey, political conservative commentator. Guys, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Tuning in. Mike, I want to start with you here on this injunctions thing. This is, again, my mind goes back and forth on good idea, bad idea. Obviously, I want President Trump to not be hindered by random judges. A federal judge decides that. I don't want that to happen, but at the same time, I'm not sure if I want libs to have that power. Is Congress the only way to kind of go forward with this? What are your thoughts?
I think that Congress, obviously, over the last couple of weeks have shown just how feckless and how weak they are. They don't want to do anything because so many people who are about to run for re-election are petrified of super PAC money coming in swing districts. These people are trying to save their own hide. They're literally sitting there and doing nothing because they want to preserve their own future. Meanwhile, our future right now is being robbed blind from us before our very eyes. So President Trump says, I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to start enacting executive orders. Again, he had 4 years to prepare for this next term and understand what he could and couldn't do. So him and his people have studied the law, and they're levying their legal authority to do certain things under certain statutes. It's working very well, and these judges are only doing it in an attempt to slow it down. They know it won't stand. They're doing it in an attempt to slow it down, but it is all because Congress is petrified of their own shadow. So Republicans and Democrat members of Congress, forget about it. We need to clean the house, Joe Bob.
Groundhog's Congress is what I heard there. Kendall, I want to actually play the audio from that clip and then get your reaction. This is President Trump talking about the idea of ending the endless injunction craziness going on with random federal judges. Watch this and I want your reaction.
And thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with numerous policies that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis. And some of the cases we're talking about would be ending birthright citizenship, which now comes to the fore. That was meant for the babies of slaves. It wasn't meant for people trying to scam the system and come into the country on a vacation. Ending sanctuary city funding, suspending refugee resettlement, freezing unnecessary funding, stopping federal taxpayers from paying for transgender surgeries, and numerous other priorities of the American people.
So, Kendall, the politics and policy aside from who gets to do what do we think about the president saying, hey, cool, chains are off. Let's rock and roll with what the American people said. What are you looking forward to that the Trump administration might use this new ability that they have to do?
Well, I think it's true. I mean, he took the words right out of my mouth. This was for free slaves. This is not for anchor babies. And I think we need to stop incentivizing these illegals from coming over our borders. It was like at first it was, hey, you get a job when you come over here, you get a paycheck, you get a free cell phone, you get a really nice apartment, and now you can have your child over here and we're going to pay for it. And that's absolutely absurd. I think President Trump is an absolute boss, and I stand by him in this decision.